Anna and I have the conspiracy theory that the CIA created AIDS. To start a conspiracy, we must understand the AIDS epidemic during the 80s and 90s. HIV and AIDS swept the nation, infecting and killing a large amount of the United States population, more specifically a huge number of homosexual males and intravenous drug users. HIV is spread through the exchange of bodily fluids or through sharing needles, which is why the infection started more people among these two groups were infected. This caused people to suspect something was wrong with the infection rate due to the fact it was severely targeting a certain group of people.
One theory for the spread of AIDS is that during the hepatitis B research, the government injected the volunteers with AIDS. This theory is held due to the fact that many hepatitis B patients were homosexual men or intravenous drug users. Because hepatitis B was spread in the same way as AIDS, people believed that when blood was drawn from the volunteers, the nurse would also inject the patient with AIDS. Many of these trials took place in San Francisco, but there were many other smaller trials in big cities across the country. By about 1987, at least 600 of the 6,700 participants were diagnosed with AIDS, and 375 had died from the disease. 70% of the participants tested positive for AIDS antibodies, meaning they had been carrying and spreading the virus. These numbers were released, causing people to suspect that the government had injected the participants with AIDS, then their immune system developed antibodies to fight against it. The next theory is Patient Zero, which is a theory entirely surrounding one man, Bouton Dugas, and that he was the entire cause of AIDS in the U.S. Dugas was a handsome French-Canadian airline steward. However, he was engaged in intercourse with hundreds of men a year. Something called the cluster study is what they use to determine his guilt. Cluster studies are when they gather and ask people infected who had they slept with. The study revealed that 40 of the first 200 homosexual men that were diagnosed with AIDS had slept with Dugas or slept with someone who had slept with Dugas. The media clung to this theory, using it to ridicule Dugas in papers, magazines, and the news.
Of course, the theory of the CIA creating AIDS is known, especially not by us. Dugas was a real person who was ridiculed for something he did not do. He was not the beginning of the AIDS epidemic. Instead, he gave a lot of insight on AIDS to researchers before he died. To conclude, the CIA did not create AIDS. HIV, the virus that turns into AIDS, jumps from chimpanzees to humans in Africa in the early 20th century.